The 1960s were a remarkable decade for Britain. The country was changing, culture, music, ambition, and the cars reflected it perfectly. Executive saloons weren't just transport back then. They were a statement, a signal of status, taste, and quiet authority. But not every car that claimed the executive badge truly deserved it. Some were brilliant, some were flawed, and one, sitting at the very top of this list, quietly rewrote the rulebook for what an executive car should be. Stay close, because the closer we get to number 1, the more impressive this story becomes. Number 10. Vauxhall Cresta PA. Launched in 1957 and carrying into the early 1960s, the Vauxhall Cresta PA was something of a contradiction. It wore American styling, broad chrome fins, a wide theatrical grille, yet it was assembled in Luton and priced squarely for the British middle manager. For a time, it genuinely worked. The Cresta delivered a roomy cabin, a smooth 6-cylinder engine, and enough visual presence to turn heads in any company car park. But here's the part most people overlook. The American-inspired design that made it so attractive in the late 50s quickly began to look excessive. By 1963, British taste had already moved on. The Cresta remained comfortable and genuinely pleasant to drive. But as true executive transport, it always felt one step behind where the market was heading. Solid, reliable, and honest. But never quite compelling enough to truly lead the field. Number 9. Humber Hawk Series 5. The Humber Hawk had earned a quiet sort of respect long before the 1960s began. By the Series 5 of the early 60s, the car wore a cleaner, more restrained suit of clothes, less fussy, more authoritative. It was a car for the professional man who valued dependability over drama, refinement over raw numbers. The cabin offered real quality, with good materials and a sense of calm that suited long motorway journeys well. But this is where things get interesting. Against rivals equipped with 6-cylinder engines and more advanced engineering, the Hawk's 4-cylinder unit was starting to look modest. Not weak, but measured. In a segment where projecting quiet authority mattered enormously, the Hawk sometimes struggled to match its own ambitions. A deeply honest motor car, and worthy of respect. But a step behind the frontrunners, even at its best. Number 8. Ford Zodiac MK3. Ford changed the game with the Zodiac Mark III in 1962. Where the previous generation had been upright and traditional, the new model arrived with a modern shape, clean flanks, a wide glass house, and 4 headlamps giving it a confident face. The Zodiac targeted buyers who wanted something contemporary without paying Jaguar prices. And by that measure, it succeeded well. The 6-cylinder engine was refined enough for relaxed cruising, the ride impressive, and the interior, by Ford standards, felt surprisingly well appointed. But here's an unexpected angle. The Zodiac's very accessibility became something of a liability in executive circles. It was almost too mainstream, too familiar. Men who wanted to signal distinction chose elsewhere. An excellent car by every rational measure. But the executive market runs on perception as much as engineering, and the Zodiac occasionally fell short on that count. Number 7. Wolseley 6110. There's a certain kind of understated dignity that only a Wolseley could project. The 6110, introduced in 1961, wore its authority quietly, illuminated grille badge, walnut dashboard, deep leather seats, and a refinement of manner that suited senior professionals and government departments alike. The BMCC series engine delivered smooth, untroubled progress, and the automatic gearbox option made city driving genuinely effortless. But what most casual observers completely missed was the Wolseley's remarkable versatility. It served faithfully as a police car, a ministerial vehicle, and a company director's transport, sometimes almost simultaneously. The hidden flaw, however, was its platform. Sharing underpinnings with lesser BMC models created a ceiling that engineering alone couldn't raise. The Wolseley always deserved better foundations than it received. Dignified, refined, and deeply purposeful. Just not quite capable of reaching the very top of the executive saloon world on its own. Number 6. Austin A110 Westminster. The Austin A110 Westminster tried to be taken seriously, and, to its credit, largely managed it. Built on the same BMC platform as the Wolseley but with a forward-looking body, the Westminster positioned itself as a sensible, spacious executive saloon for the practical professional. The engine was willing, the ride acceptable, and the boot large enough to satisfy the most demanding commercial traveler. And this is where things get complicated. The Westminster sat in an awkward position, above ordinary saloons but below the true prestige names. Too well equipped to be ignored, yet not quite distinguished enough to command the boardroom. Buyers who could stretch slightly further invariably did so. But within its price bracket, the A110 offered genuine value and quiet competence. A car that worked very hard and asked little, which, in many respects, is its own kind of achievement. Number 5. Humber Super Snipe Series 5. By the time the Super Snipe reached Series 5 in 1964, it had matured into one of the most impressive executive saloons Britain was producing. The contrast with the Humber Hawk could not have been sharper. Where the Hawk was measured and modest, the Super Snipe was expansive. A smooth 3.0-litre six-cylinder engine, automatic transmission, power steering, and one of the most luxurious interiors in its class. This was a car that competed directly, and convincingly, with Jaguars and Rovers for senior management. But here's what many don't appreciate. The Super Snipe's true strength was its effortless manner. It never strained, never rushed, never made demands. It delivered. The one criticism was a lack of sporting sharpness that gave certain rivals an edge. Deeply comfortable, beautifully trimmed, and formidable. Stay for the top 4, it rises considerably from here. Number 4. Triumph 2000. When the Triumph 2000 arrived in 1963, it felt like a genuine breath of fresh air. Here was a car that broke from the traditional British executive idiom, modern in shape, sophisticated in engineering, and remarkably driver-focused for its time. The Italian-influenced styling by Giovanni Michelotti gave it a lean elegance that turned heads without chrome excess. And this is where things get particularly interesting. The six-cylinder engine delivered smooth refinement and willingness that few contemporaries could match at the price. The handling was sharp and communicative, truly excellent on winding country roads. The interior, though less lavish than a Super Snipe, felt modern, well-considered, and purposeful. The one real weakness was a slightly cramped rear cabin. But for the driver, the man actually at the wheel, the Triumph 2000 was arguably the most enjoyable car on this list to drive. Number 3. Daimler V8 250. The Daimler V8 250 of 1962 is one of those rare cars that rewards those who look closely. On the surface, it appeared to be a refined Jaguar MK3 with Daimler badging and a fluted grille. And in some ways, that's precisely what it was. But here's the part that changes everything. The Daimler's engine, a compact, beautifully engineered 2.5-litre V8, transformed the car completely. Lighter than the Jaguar's straight six, smoother than almost anything in its class, with a silky, turbine-like power delivery that had to be experienced to be fully appreciated. The Daimler V8 250 offered truly genuine Jaguar quality, Jaguar style, and something approaching Jaguar performance, but with a quieter, discreet personality. It never bullied. It never imposed. It simply impressed, quietly and consistently. Would you choose the Daimler over the Jaguar? Many did. And most were never disappointed. Number 2. Rover P5 3-litre. In 1958, Rover launched what became one of the most enduring symbols of British establishment motoring. The P5 3-litre was not designed to be exciting. It was designed to be definitive. And for nearly a decade, it largely succeeded. The long, formal body carried an air of restrained authority that photographs rarely captured. It had to be seen to be properly understood. Inside, the Rover P5 offered craftsmanship rivaling anything in its class: real walnut, deep leather, a deep solidity suggesting permanence rather than mere luxury. Prime ministers used it. Senior civil servants depended on it. But an honest critique is necessary here. The P5 was never a driver's car. The handling was ponderous, the controls heavy, the engine, though willing, never delivering the effortless power its presence promised. Magnificent! But its greatest chapter was still ahead, waiting for a V8. Number 1, Rover 2000 P6. And so we arrive at number 1. The Rover 2000, launched in 1963, didn't just raise the bar, it redefined the British executive saloon entirely. European Car of the Year 1964. The first modern British executive car. A machine that remained a benchmark for engineering and driver excellence for years afterward. The styling was crisp and unadorned, a rejection of chrome excess. Beneath that surface layered a D-on rear axle, a base unit body structure ahead of its time, and safety engineering that placed Rover among the world's most progressive manufacturers. On the road, it was a revelation, precise, refined, and extraordinarily capable. It drove like a sports car wearing an executive suit. Nothing on this list matched everything it offered in one coherent, brilliantly realized package. This was the car that truly set the standard. For years, nothing bettered it. The 1960s gave Britain an extraordinary generation of executive cars, some flawed, some underrated, and at least one that genuinely changed things forever. What this list reveals, more than anything, is how much ambition was packed into that single defining decade. From the comfortable conservatism of the Cresta to the revolutionary intelligence of the Rover 2000, British engineering was moving fast and thinking clearly. Which one would you have chosen? Leave your thoughts in the comments, we read every one. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to Britain Rewind for more amazing videos daily.